Who've seen Rick Ness on Gold Rush, you understand he's no stranger to striking gold. Although he failed to start off as a miner, he became a broke musician and not using a clue the way to locate gold. But one way or the other, he is now one of the richest faces on Gold Rush. But just how a good deal has the rugged miner without a doubt pocketed from all his tough work? Well, there's loads extra to his fortune than meets the eye. And some of the numbers may surprise you. Rick Ness's upward thrust to fame isn't always a few cliché tale. In truth, earlier than he turned into digging for gold on Discovery Channel's Gold Rush, he was a musician, playing in a band known as the 0.357 String Band. When Gold Rush to begin with premiered in 2010, Rick wasn't even at the display. He got here in later, however his entrance turned into memorable because, unlike others, Rick wasn't a miner, actually had no mining enjoy whatsoever. What he did have was power and an open thoughts. And every now and then, this is all you need to break into something absolutely new. This dude was difficult, wasn't afraid to work hard, and change into equipped to show himself. No surprise his tale could be one of the most exciting memories at the display. Now, if you thought Rick were given a process and a fortune passed to him on a silver platter, you have to be lamentably wrong. He had to paintings his manner, literally digging through dust and stone looking for those bright gold nuggets that could change his lifestyles for all time. Now let's listen about his transformation. You never understand wherein life will take you. If there may be someone who can justify this announcing, then that might be Rick Ness. When Rick became in his more youthful days, his career was all related to song. He plays bass in a bluegrass punk band. He traveled the United States non-stop, lived out of a suitcase and played indicates any place they might. He loves tune, but as any man or woman who has ever attempted to make it is aware of, it's just hard. The year 2012 took place to be a huge turning point in his lifestyles. During one in all his comedy indicates in Alaska, Rick met Parker Schnabel, one of the stars within the Gold Rush. They get on well right away, and Schnabel saw something in Rick well worth the hazard. Always up for an adventure, Rick, with zero revel-in as a miner, prevalent Parkers provide to enroll in his mining team on Gold Rush. It doesn't get a great deal more illogical than a musician to miner Rick himself. Even admitted he didn't know if he ought to do it, but once in a while you gotta simply take the soar. That's precisely what Rick did. He traded in his bass guitar for bulldozers and excavators, and plunged headlong into the rough and tumble world of gold mining. Mining isn't always for the faint of coronary heart, and it would not take Rick lengthy to discover simply how vastly bodily and mentally hard the operation changed into. What he lacked in revel-in, he made up for in grit and backbone. Rick had something to show to the world, certain, but extra importantly, to himself. This was the first step Rick would make into the sector of gold mining, and the start of his eventual upward thrust to riches. Mining in the Klondike is brutal, extreme climate, high stakes, and punishing terrain combine to make this one of the most harsh locations in the world to attempt to eke out a dwelling. It's no longer just dust mining, it's surviving. In his first few days, he quickly found out mining wasn't as smooth as running heavy machinery and pulling the gold out of the ground. It became an all-ingesting combat towards time and nature. The Klondike isn't simply cold, it's downright brutal. Temperatures can drop right down to lifestyle-threatening levels. Equipment usually breaks down and the clock is ticking. Each misplaced day manner, tens of thousands of greenbacks lost. And in gold mining, simply time is money. Rick's activity beneath Parker Schnabel changed into a long way from being a glamorous one. Glenby H. Pomp has settled into the mine of Bill Hadgler is entirely his own, and the work remains simple in life and manual. He needed to analyze firstly the way to operate an excavator, the way to hold dust piles, and all the associated abilities of extracting gold. The work changed into hard, however. He by no means shied far away from tough exertions. He embraced it. Additionally, Rick needed to discover ways to work with a team below traumatic situations, which turned into no longer that smooth. In an area where mistakes cost a fortune, the pressure changed into at an all-time high. One of the huge lessons Rick learned became the staying power sport of gold mining. You can be out in the dirt piles for days, literally weeks, and locate absolutely nothing. He explored injuries and agriculture. But then, whilst you did hit, that rush, the moment you found out you had struck it big, made all of the struggle worthwhile. As Rick himself has said, you have to have thick skin and quite a few staying power, because not anything really worth having comes smooth. Through those early years, Rick evolved his abilities, constructed his self-belief, and started out to dream of what lifestyles would be like if he wasn't simply part of the crew, however the one giving the orders. Little did he recognize the opportunity that might make that dream feasible turned into nearer than he notioned. It's a factor in each underdog tale, the moment when the hero wishes to break away from the mentor into the unknown. In the case of Rick, that got here with Season 9 of Gold Rush, when he made the bold name to depart Parker Schnabel's crew and exit on his personal mining. That became a massive danger, and in reality, many human beings' idea he was crazy. Stepping out in the mining world to your personal is a touch like leaping from an airplane without a parachute. You may land, but maximum of the time you will crash and burn. Parker had been Rick's mentor for years, teaching him the approaches. Due to the fact mining for a person else is one factor, and walking your personal operation is a totally one-of-a-kind beast. But his decision to fly solo positioned everything on the line, from mining competencies to non-minority dangers. Financially, he needed to bankroll the operation himself. That means that each breakdown, each setback, and each failure would be coming directly out of his pocket. Mentally, the strain would be massive. As he himself admitted, when you're the boss, each mistake is yours to very own. There's no one else to blame. Suspense mounted as visitors watched him prepare for his first season as a mining boss. Would he locate gold, or could he go broke attempting? Everything became against him. Going solo meant finding new land to mine, securing the proper group, and handling the logistic nightmares that came along with putting in place a mining operation from scratch. Added to this was the truth that he needed to convey all of this out under the maximum excessive conditions of the Klondike. The undeterred Rick were one of those who constantly took risks in existence, and this turned into the most important gamble. I'm betting on myself, he advised him. And as target market participants, we couldn't pretty assist but pull for him. The stakes had been as excessive as they get, and he was diving headfirst into uncharted territory. Did his wager repay? Rick's first 12 months as a mining boss turned into just up and down. On one hand, he became given loose rein to make his own choices. No more taking orders, no more answering to a person else. However, then again, with exceptional power comes incredible duty. In the sector of gold mining, that includes a rake. But possibly Rick's biggest task turned into his team. He wasn't only a boss, he became a frontrunner. And leading inside the excessive pressure environment of the Klondike isn't clean. Tempers flared, strain degrees were through the roof. And while things went incorrect, which they frequently did, it fell to Rick to restoration. Equipment broke down regularly, and every minute of downtime supposed lost sales because of risky weather. But if that wasn't sufficient, the pressure to locate the gold changed into continually there with Rick. As someone stated within the mining circles, if you don't discover gold, you don't devour. Every day without a discovery felt like a ticking time bomb. The suspense was palpable. No longer just for Rick, however, additionally for the viewers. He found enough gold to keep his operation going for walks, however, waited for the question of whether his dream of mining boss popularity would fall apart. But right here's wherein his resilience shined through. In the fact that a person in his early 30s isn't chose in which his resilience shined through. So on the day of Jason Ente's death, He saved pushing forward. "I'm not a quitter," he said in an interview, "and I've never been one to back off from a venture." That attitude stored him going through the toughest days of the